Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to wherever you are in the world. My name is John,
I'm Vicky.
and welcome to the HODLNOTS Weekly Warm-Up News at 9 a.m. UTC. Let's get into some of the crypto headlines from the last few days.
Yes, and let's talk about Bitcoin. It's on everyone's lips at the moment. We saw what happened last weekend with that giant dump, and we didn't actually have a call. So we wanted to talk about four or maybe five reasons, or four reasons and a non-reason why Bitcoin might have dumped by 23,000 in 10 days. So the first one is Trump-led uncertainty. So the most significant price collapse, which occurred at the end of the previous business week, so last week, was largely attributed to global political uncertainty prompted by US President Donald Trump. The POTUS threatened China with a new wave of tariffs after accusing its authority of a lack of transparency in certain areas. The focus then turned to another flammable geopolitical scene, which was the Ukraine and Russia war. So on Friday, POTUS was visited by Ukraine's Vladimir Zelensky. Reports indicated that the Ukrainian leader might not receive the requested Tomahawk cruise missiles. And finally, it's also worth mentioning that the US government has shut down, which has continued over 2 weeks now. So that might be the first reason why this is happening.
Absolutely. The second reason may well be the US banking crisis. The US banking system saw shades of the 2023 failure of Silicon Valley Bank when two regional organizations, Zions Bancorp and Western Alliance, published some controversial data that stirred fear into investors. Now, investors were spooked not only in the US but also in Asia and Europe, as evidenced by the drop in stock prices on Friday for major banks such as Deutsche Bank, Barclays, and Société Générale. Sorry, excuse my French, it's terrible. The other reason.
Excuse your French. Okay. So that was number two. Number three is an ETF exodus. So after an impressive 9-day period that started in late September, in which the spot Bitcoin ETFs attracted nearly 6 billion, the trend reversed at the end of the previous business week with a minor net outflow of only 4.5 million. Now, however, the withdrawals intensified on Monday, which is last Monday, not today. And by Wednesday, it was even down further, and particularly on Thursday, when more than 530 million left these financial products. Friday was also in the red, with more than 366 million leaving the funds. So the total amount withdrawn from US-based ETFs exceeded 1.2 billion for the week, which undoubtedly increased the pressure on the underlying asset.
And then the fourth one. Gold is up, Bitcoin is down. Now, in times of uncertainty, investors tend to flock to safe haven assets. Although this year has had its ups and downs, they have shown a somewhat different approach. Gold has been the preferred investment tool for many, which is evident from its massive rally in 2025. It charts new all-time highs almost daily, with the latest being at over $4,400 per ounce as of Friday. At the same time, Bitcoin's performance has been quite underwhelming of late. Now, there is another point of view around this as well, and this is from some analysts that say Bitcoin's next rally will start once the OGs finish selling off. Now, long-term Bitcoin holders took profits at record levels with realized gains hitting $1.7 billion daily as some of the older coins re-entered circulation. Now, the price of Bitcoin will have a challenging road ahead for sure, as long as long-term holders continue to take profits, according to many analysts. Now, the failure of crypto markets to recover was not due to manipulation, apparently, or paper Bitcoin, or even suppression, but just good old-fashioned sellers, says one of the analysts yesterday, Sunday. Moving on. Vicky, next story.
Yeah, so that's four reasons, and maybe it was just selling, which is the fifth reason. But the next story is Tom Lee's Bitmine added 417 million Ethereum, so aiming to control 5% of the Ethereum supply. So Tommy Lee's Bitmine Immersion Technologies has expanded its Ethereum holdings by 104,336 Ethereum, worth about 417 million, bringing its total to about 3.3 million Ethereum, valued at 12.2 billion. So the firm's aggressive accumulation shows it's still on track with the global controlling of 5% of Ethereum supply, and its belief that Ethereum's growing role in global finance and institutional adoption is coming. So Bitcoin didn't have all fun on the weekend.
Absolutely. There's been some talk that Ethereum may well flip Bitcoin in time. That's huge. But let's see. Now, some of you who have done the HODLNOTS foundational trading course, one of the two or even the three different versions, iterations thereof, have heard of a man with my same namesake, John, but Bollinger. Sound familiar? Bollinger Bands? Right. He has an opinion that a big move is imminent. He says, pay attention soon. So, technical analyst John Bollinger has identified a potential W bottom patterns or W bottom patterns in both Ether or Ethereum and Solana charts. That's suggesting a major move could follow, especially if something similar happens with Bitcoin. Now, Ethereum and Solana appear to be setting up double bottoms while Bitcoin is still forming its base. A bottom or a W bottom in Bollinger Bands is a bullish reversal signal that indicates potential upward price movement. He says, gonna be time to pay attention soon, I think. Again, ladies and gents, not financial advice. If you'd like to find out more about the Bollinger Bands and how we utilize them in scalp trading, definitely check out, as most of you do know by now, the HODLNOTS foundational trading courses, all available on bitcointap.com. All right, but for further updates as to where the market's going, of course, join in with Marius and his long-term trade reports later on in the week. Vicky will give you more details on that. But back to some very exciting things for South Africans. Vicky, tell us more.
Yeah, so it's ironic that I'm doing this, but you can confirm or deny. So Ripple partners with Absa Bank to launch digital asset custody in South Africa. So Ripple has announced a partnership with Absa Bank to provide digital asset custody services to customers in South Africa, marking the company's first major custody collaboration in Africa. So under the agreement, Absa will use Ripple's institutional-grade custody technology to offer secure and scalable storage for tokenized assets, including cryptocurrency. So the partnership responds to rising institutional demand for compliant and secure digital asset infrastructure across emerging markets, with Africa identified as rapidly growing region for blockchain technology. And we knew that for sure because we have lots of African members, and so Ripple is just cottoning on to that, I think.
Yeah, it's a fantastic
Mm,
story. Ripple has been
mm.
making waves, all right, in Africa for the last little while with some other partnerships. Some of you might know Yellow Card or even Chipper Cash. It's yeah, right. So Absa Bank, one of the largest bank in Africa and South Africa specifically. Very exciting times. I wish my bank would get to grips with it, but I'm sure it will. Meanwhile, I mean, it is pretty exciting either way. But back to the other side of the world, California. If you've lost your Bitcoin in California, you might be able to get it all back. Now, California's new law states that abandoned Bitcoin can't immediately be sold by the state, which may ease recovery and lower burdens on some of the exchanges. Over the weekend, California Governor Gavin Newsom signed a bill into law that preserves abandoned Bitcoin holdings. Now, this is a step forward that could provide legal clarity for custodians and crypto holders. So the bill was an update to the Unclaimed Property Law, UPL, and contained one key provision. Abandoned Bitcoin or crypto holdings that are transferred to the state must be maintained in their original format, not sold for cash, for a certain amount of time. Now, other states within the US with similar laws require that crypto be liquidated into cash immediately. This can create difficulties for recovering lost property and also create administrative burdens for exchanges and crypto custodians. Now, the new law in California reflects growing adoption and understanding of cryptocurrency amongst lawmakers. It may also influence how other states choose to regulate crypto in the future. So, this is a fantastic story. And we are starting to see how different countries, different provinces, states around the world are looking to formulate and regulate crypto and be adaptive and evolve with the time. So, well done to California again, leading the curve there. Next story.
Yeah, it's great to see the US embracing crypto more and more. And unfortunately, this next story is going backwards. And unfortunately, it's where I currently am in Australia. So, Australia, the nanny state that it is targeting crypto ATMs in a new crackdown on money laundering and scams. So, Australia's Home Affairs Minister Tony Burke said the government will move to restrict or ban crypto ATMs, labeling them high risk products tied to money laundering, scams, and child exploitation. So the measure sits inside a broader package expanding federal powers against money laundering, terrorism financing, and related crime risks. For instance, AUSTRAC recently ordered Binance Australia to provide full external audit after the regulator found deficiencies in its anti-money laundering and counter-terrorism financing framework. It also comes when Asia Pacific becomes the fastest growing region in terms of crypto adoption. Notably, older Australians are the fastest growing, with investors aging 60 plus posting more than 700% in year on year surge in first deposits and a 93% rise in daily trading. So, good news, bad news. We're getting swept up in the anti money laundering thing, and not all crypto is bad, but we'll see what happens over here.
Again, nice little stats there right at the end of their story, the Vicky, around the older
Yeah,
Aussies or the boomers. Um,
boomers.
but yeah, the
Hmm.
60 plus, we had a story about this
Yeah.
before regarding a lot of them getting into crypto and yeah, seeing that, yeah, 93% rise in daily trading from this group. It's amazing and very bullish. Moving on from the crypto news. I mean, we've spoken about some of the factors influencing the markets. And let's have a look at that little swing meter measure thing over there. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, he went like that this weekend. So, um, even though the fear and greed index fell to its lowest level since April over the weekend, and obviously that followed Bitcoin's crash below 104,000 on Friday. Analysts are saying that the bull market will continue, and it's extreme fear at the moment. It's sitting at 29. It actually went all the way down to 23 on Saturday, and it climbed back to 29 on Sunday, but now it's back down to 27. And really, the market sentiment hasn't been around this since about April when the crash happened, which was caused by President Donald Trump's tariff announcement. So back then, about 500 billion was wiped off the total crypto capitalization market, and Bitcoin tanked to 76,000. And some are thinking that there is a CME gap around 70,000. So we could see 70,000 happen just soon. Let's just see whether that happens. But really, October has about 10 days left to become October again. So really, only time will tell with that one. Let's just hope and see if it does.
Ooh. Well, let's have a look at Bitcoin. Let's have a
Mm.
look at those CME gaps. And I do see one. I don't see one down that low, but there is one sitting at about 91,000. So let's hope this is maybe the last of the dips. But let's have a quick look at Bitcoin and have a look and see what we can anticipate for the rest of the week, besides a lot of turmoil and turbulence. So let's get into it now. All right, so this is it. This is Bitcoin on the daily chart, ladies and gents. As you can see, there was that massive sell-off. I think Bitcoin at that time, there was in the entire day candle, we saw at about a 16 odd percent drop in Bitcoin, which is massive and why a lot of the market has struggled. All right, so for those of you who know what all these colored lines means and all these various indicators, you know that we are back of something and there is some potential issues ahead. We're going to see some resistance in and around this area here. So Bitcoin needing to close up above 113,000, definitely close up above 114 before we start getting back into some positive territory. So for the meantime, it is going to be a little bit of a ride. Now, some people don't mind the dips because they just keep on adding to their bags. How can you know when the dips are and when the right times might be to buy? Well, there is a great indicator called the neon green HODL fire indicator, which you can utilize on a bunch of different stocks, cryptos, derivatives, everything else as well. And if you want to know how to really utilize it, of course, we've got our brand spanking new hot HODL fire course, 2 days, and you get to learn all about this indicator, the alerts, and everything else, as well as time frames. Such a goodie. We had such a great first course 2 weeks ago. Looking forward to that. But that aside, let's have a quick look and see what Bitcoin dominance is doing, because again, this is in terms of what is being traded in the crypto space. Is it Bitcoin, and how much of the trades, buys and sells are really Bitcoin centric versus alts? And we see that massive sell off on Friday the 10th. And you can see that Bitcoin was very much in the main focus. It went up to about 63%, almost 64% of the total crypto market. And that was with all those sells. Now, at the moment, with Bitcoin kind of going sideways, it's needing to consolidate. We'd like to see more Bitcoin traded, but obviously more Bitcoin bought. So this can go up a little bit more in order for Bitcoin to stabilize. And once Bitcoin is stabilized, as we mentioned, right over, let me just show you again, right around there. And again, 115 seems to be the number I've been repeating for the last couple of months. 115 is kind of the stable point again. So if we get to about 115 again, that'd be pretty good. And that means that if Bitcoin reaches 115, closes there, what we can start to see is hopefully that Bitcoin dominance drops out of its tiny and all the way down to the bottom. So that's a little bit about the week. So as mentioned, ladies and gents, hold on to your hats. Bitcoin is going to be struggling to break up past 113, 114. We need to close 115 for the market to stabilize. We need the Bitcoin OG whales to stop selling off and creating all these heart palpitations. But anyway, for the rest of it, there's lots happening in this week. Vicky, what all is happening in the large and more?
Yeah, actually, this is very reminiscent of last year when it was bouncing in between 58. I remember going 58, 58, 58, and now it's doing 115. Can you imagine if we actually all bought at 58 and now it's 115?
Yeah.
So anyway, now there are calls in the lodge this week. If Zoom lets there be calls in the lodge this week. So let's quickly go through that. So the week kicks off later today, fingers crossed, with our first of the self-paced calls at 12 p.m. UTC. So those of you who are doing the self-paced course and are busy with chapters 1 to 3, that's your call today. So that's Monday at 12 p.m. UTC. And then the calls continue with Wendy as normal in the lodge on Tuesday at 8 a.m. UTC, where our lodge members can jump on and ask questions. So Wendy's back in full force now from holidays. So jump on and say hi. And also, I don't know if you heard me say it before, but ask her about her Raven coin story. Because even though it's, we're laughing with her, not at her, it's actually a good lesson why we don't hold on to scalp coins or coins that we're scalping. So that is Tuesday. And then for those of you who have completed the HODL Fire course, we'll have our course support call later that day as well. So Tuesday at 12 p.m. UTC is that call. Last week's call saw lots of great questions and questions about the course material, and everyone was interacting and sharing knowledge, and we did find some trades that we thought would be okay, but then market. So I think a couple of people actually did make profit, so that's really good to see. So that is on Tuesday at 12 p.m. UTC. That will be our second call. And then the calls continue on the 22nd, which is Wednesday, if you are an IPO member. So your monthly call, already a month, will be at 7 a.m. UTC. And it's obviously a really good time to jump on and see where this market is going, because Marius and Nico will be on there. And I'm sure Marius has a bit of insight as to where it's going. So not to be missed, 7 a.m. UTC if you are an IPO member. And then the first of our HODL calls is later that day at 8 p.m. UTC. And great, I see quite a few people leveling up in the HODL dot calls, so the 3M challenge, and it's quite a feat in this market. So well done to everyone that's leveling up. And don't despair if you're not, because there's plenty of time to level up. And for those of you who have completed or have not completed the HODL Fire course yet, but have the HODL Fire indicator, the free call will be this week on Thursday, which is the 23rd at 6 a.m. UTC. It's actually our first one at that time. So we'll put it in the chat, we'll remind you. So at 6 a.m. UTC, it will be recorded for those of you who can't attend live. And then the week continues on Thursday with the second of our HODL calls, which are, again, those of you who are undertaking the 3M challenge. And that's at 8 a.m. UTC. And lastly, as usual, on Thursday, it's the second of our self-paced course call at 12 p.m. UTC, which ends the week. Now, I'm not sure if Mars is having a webinar or a recording, but I'm sure he's going to put something out because it's really important to know where the market's going at the moment.
Absolutely. I believe
Mm.
last week's call was a cracker in
Mm.
terms of that information that Marius imparted. So if you guys are subscribers, go and check that out. If you're not, do yourself a favor. Lots happening this week, Vicky. Yeah, the self-paced course for the foundational trading course. We've got so many students coming through that all the time. It's great to be able to interact with them, meet with them as well. Now, ladies and gents, do keep an eye out for the announcement for when the next HODL Fire course is, because that's exciting. We had 2 jam-packed days of hot information around that. And yeah, looking forward to that call with the graduates tomorrow again. Now, we did not have a call last week. Yours truly was out cow wrangling and so forth, but we did have the previous weeks, and now we're getting into the sixth letter of the word. Again, this is starting to build up to a really long word. It could be 13 letters, 12, 20. We don't know. Hopefully, you're all keeping track and watching all these videos, making notes as we go along. Uh, are we going to do a quick recap as to the previous letters?
We can do a quick recap. So we had our favorite letter, which is always this one. I think everyone should know what this letter is by now, right
Mm-hmm.
there.
Mm-hmm.
And then we had this one, or
Mm-hmm.
that,
No, the other
this
one.
one.
Yeah,
Okay, this one right here. And then we had two of, is that right? Or is it this way?
it's that way. Yes,
It's this way.
that way.
Okay, two of the, oops, wait, two of these.
Mm.
And then we also had, well, this, but not pointy at the end. So
Mm-hmm.
more like this, like that.
There we
I
go.
think
Yeah.
that was it actually. Yeah.
Yes.
So
Correct.
today is, I'm going to get this wrong. Nope, other way.
The other way.
So the other,
All right.
that way.
Yeah.
This hand and this hand.
Fantastic. All right.
Mm.
Whew. If you ladies and gents can't figure out yet, you might need to consult a dictionary. But speaking of dictionary and words, let's finish off this HODLNOTS weekly warm-up here for Monday, the 20th of October, with some wise words.
Yes, it's all about friendship today. So if you have a think about it, friends buy you food, but best friends eat your food. Mhm.
Absolutely. Right? That's what it's all about. Good. Keep that in mind. Ladies and gents, thank you very much for joining us or watching this after the fact. We'll see you on some of the other live calls within the lodge and beyond for the rest of the week. Have a fantastic week. Make sure that you are profiting and trading safely using the stop loss. Until next time, ciao, ciao.